Another Sunday evening means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. This is episode 54 coming your way. We're going to talk about a little sports, a little Auburn culture, and of course, all about the Auburn family. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, on Facebook, I think we're on Twitch, every other place that you could be, probably, however you got here. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, alongside Austin Scott, our co-host, back for another episode, which we will begin recording in just a little bit. But let's start off by saying hello. Welcome back, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be back. The stomach bug ran through our house last week, and it was miserable. You think the stomach bug can't get any worse when you have it, and then you're a parent with the stomach bug, and it's horrible. And so Emily and I had it at the same time. I'll spare all the details. It was terrible, Kyle.
I got
It
some
was
of the details.
absolutely terrible.
You gave me some of the details when we were following up with each other last weekend, because I want people to know too, the dedication that Austin Scott has to this show, about how determined he is to show up for this thing. One time previously when he was sick, I had to ask him 1,000 times, are you sure you're okay? And he finally relented. And this time too, he was like, nah, I think I'm gonna be okay. And then messaged me, he's like, So he has tried to be here. Yes.
Clip if I tried to come on here with a stomach bug. But it's a good thing we didn't.
Yeah, it would. I don't want it passing through virtually or anything like that. I don't know if that's possible these days. But we appreciate you trying your hardest to be here. We're just happy to have you back in the saddle with us to talk about the Auburn experience. We're going to get into that record in just a second. You guys can get us off on a great start, though. If you can, post where you're watching from, your city, your state. If you're international, please do that. And obviously, if you think that we have earned it from you this evening or previously, please do smash the like button. I was going to see if sometimes, Austin, we have had these little things pop up. I don't know if you've seen them. Like, I've literally done this and it makes like a little bubble of a like thing that pops up. Or I did this one time and something, I didn't even know it, and it did like an explosion thing. I don't know if StreamYard's added some things that I wasn't aware of. I know. Let's just start doing hand signals and just.
Would we see it from our end, or is it just?
I saw it on my end. It happened during the post-game reaction stream for Georgia, and it really freaked me out because like, why is this popping up in the middle of my stream? And I didn't set it that way. And I thought somebody was like messing with me or something like that. Which wouldn't be the furthest thing. I know he's going to start doing that. It probably only does it when it's just one person on the screen. So that you can see the full. True. There's some AI thing going on here that I don't know. It's weird. A lot of fine people popping into the chat, checking in from all over, especially Alabama. Thank you all so much for being here and hanging out with us tonight and getting us started off on a great note this evening. We've got a lot of fun things that we're going to talk about, but Austin, I mean, it's been a little rough ride for football over the last few years. We'll get into some details in our first big segment, but I mean,
over the last few years,
what's your mindset like? Are you okay? I mean, we had a therapy session last night.
It was something else. It was something else, and I think we were all hoping for a lot more coming out of the bye week, and we'll get into it. But I mean, it just stunk. If we're being honest, it just stunk. We were chatting a little with our E2C group last night and just trying to make sense of it all. And, Kyle, I don't want to make you say it, but it's where we're at right now. And
it have to be.
This is part of a rebuild. I'm trying to help you. This is the part of a rebuild that's not fun. And so we're taking it in stride and that's about all we can do.
So my favorite phrase for those it's my favorite phrase only because I got so much flack for even saying that we would be saying something like that 3 years ago. And I'm not trying to be one of these people that's like, I told you so, but it's kind of like, guys, you didn't have to think that this wasn't a far possibility that we would fall this far. And yeah, it didn't have to be this way. So that's all I need to say. And I say that not smugly saying I was right. It frustrates me that it was so obvious that this was going to happen. And yeah, so it's one of those things that I hate that I was a little bit of a Nostradamus in this, and not just me. A lot of people. Austin feels similarly. I'm not going to throw him under the bus here in case people want to get mad. You can be mad at me. Throw all your hate at me. But
there's plenty of evidence on this YouTube channel if you want to go back and look and see what Kyle and I said 3 years ago. So
I just remember we started this channel. Well, the channel has been in existence like for a long time, but we didn't start utilizing it until about didn't plan it this way 3 years ago when that big decision was made. And boy, that's still one of our most viewed things to this day. And I was not a happy camper on it. So the fact that people stayed around after that is still a mind blower to me in and of itself. Here, we can take a quick question. Kyle, did you ever play football? I did play football. I played left out and done it. I played kicker, which should not shock any of you all. I thought I've talked about this. Maybe Stan wasn't here for one of those.
For the Knights.
For the Knights, your rival of sorts.
My rival, yeah.
Well, you're
my professional rival.
Yeah, exactly. And I did play, wide receiver mainly as a kind of a secondary position. But I'll tell you what I honestly love playing in practice. I never got to play it except for a handful of times in a game. Safety. For whatever reason, I was a monster during practice as the scout team safety. I love just hitting people. Now, when I hit people, I usually bounced off, but I just loved it. And so, yes, I did play. Austin, did you play a little ball?
Nope. Past, let me think, 8th grade 1 year. That was it. Figured out it wasn't for me.
Now, kicking was a lot of fun because except when you had to literally kick nonstop for about 2.5 hours, your leg gets pretty tired. And not just your kicking leg, but your plant leg, your hips, your people, I think, forget how much work and dedication goes into being a kicker and how strenuous it is on your body, the way it has to contort and be flexible in some ways. And I tried to do some of those exercises and things last night to demonstrate for somebody. And I was like, oh, wow. Ow, ow, ow. Can't do that ever again. So when you see Alec McPherson out there and see him knocking down almost 60-yarders, just know the dedication that went into that.
That's right.
So there's my pitch for the special teams people and my kickers out there. So great personal question. We are at 8 minutes, so let's go ahead and get this thing started. As most of you know, we are recording a podcast live. During the show, we will not be interacting a ton with you all. It might happen, may not. But after the show, please stick around. I will be sticking around to take some questions and comments, maybe some that were even opened up during the show that you all were talking amongst yourselves. So feel free to do that in the chat. And we'll do 30 minutes, 3 10-minute-ish segments, a little Auburn potpourri, a little bit of therapy for post LSU. And then we're going to talk about the striping out the stadium and all that kind of entails with trying to get fans to participate in that for football games and game day and stuff like that. So that's on the table. Mr. Scott, are you ready?
Ready.
Ready
to make your dreams come true.
I was not ready for that.
Tell me you got that reference.
I think I did. Hit me with it. What's the reference real quick?
The Office. Hey, yes. Mr. Scott, what you gonna do?
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Okay.
But that one kind of fell flat. All right, recording in 3, 2, 1. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. The highs and the lows, the roller coaster ride amongst athletics, but it's even more beyond sports, academics. It's all about culture and family. And in fact, at its heart, you would say it's all about sports, culture, and the Auburn family. Because it is all about those things, we've got to have someone here alongside me, your host, Kyle Loomis, to discuss this experience back again in seat number 2, Mr. Austin Scott, for episode 54. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Loomis. War Eagle to you, sir. War Eagle to our Auburn family. And just come on in, folks. Sit on down. Sit by the fire. Maybe get some nice coffee, hot cocoa. Fall is in the air. Just come on in. Grab. We have a few therapy blankets over here.
Weighted
Put them
blankets.
on. Go ahead. We're just join the fun. We're all here together.
We're all in this. We're all in this. Somebody's
Oh
going to get
my.
that. I know. You dropped a reference pre-show. I got to drop one in too. This one's just going to be actually on the episode itself. So people on the podcast listening version are going to be like, now I got to go back to the live on the video and see what else was talked about. You never know. That's part of the reason we encourage you to consume all aspects of E2C Network stuff, because you never know what you might miss out on. We have a lot to talk about, Mr. Scott, especially since we were out last week. We want to, obviously, we're glad you're back from being sick and you were trying very hard to be here, but that stomach bug, it only got the Auburn football team, but it got you too.
It is no joke, and it would not have been fun to listen to or to watch last week. So glad to be back. But we have lots to catch up on, and I'm anxious to see and hear about how your bye week was, and if you prepared more than the team did during the bye week ahead of our episode today.
It at least seems that way. We're going to dive into the bye week and what happened post with LSU here in a full segment shortly. But, frankly, I enjoyed the bye week more than I thought I would. And I think we talked about this on a Wednesday night live stream where typically I used to dread the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no Auburn football, no matter how good or bad it was. Like, to me, there was a good round of football that day.
Yep.
We had a lot of busyness personally that it was finally nice to kind of sit back and not have anything to worry about. I personally enjoyed the heck out of the bye week, but I was excited to come back until I saw what happened on the field and get into talking some Auburn football with all the fine folks. Other than getting sick, I hope it was as productive for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel very much the same way. It was good for us as a family to kind of just take it slow and enjoy the rest of the football going on and be together and get some things done. I mean, I felt a lot better about the LSU game during the bye week after that Georgia game and kind of where it looked like things might be headed. And so yeah, we had a great bye week and a great week leading up to the LSU game.
Well, I want to paint some positive things here before we dive into the actual LSU game and the implications of that. I want to encourage, and this is part of the Auburn potpourri segment. We just bounce around to a bunch of different topics. If you are not coming to Auburn this weekend, you are missing out on an incredible weekend. I think there's a little bit of weather that might kind of literally put some damper on things. Maybe Friday. I don't know if it's still going to carry over into Saturday or not, but it is going to be fall on campus for real. Like for not just the people like Austin who live there, the students, like those that are coming to Auburn, you're going to experience fall weather.
Yep.
And there is everything happening. I think equestrians in town, soccer, volleyball, softball, of course, football, even if you may not want to go see it. Everything that you could want in the Auburn experience is happening this weekend. And this is when I'm super jealous of Austin because he lives there amongst these things and I have to travel to go experience them. So I'm excited about it.
It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a full weekend of plenty of stuff to do. If you're making a weekend out of the trip for the game, I recognize that's the big reason you might come, but it's
Right.
going to be a full weekend with plenty to do around the game as well. I mean, it's a high of 62 tomorrow in Auburn, Alabama. We're not getting above 71 the rest of the week. Right now, Saturday looks like a low of 51 and a high of 66. We were walking into church this morning and it was brisk. I told my 6-month-old boys who have no idea what I'm saying or cannot comprehend me at all. I said, "Gentlemen, this is fall and this is football weather," and it was awesome. And so it is the perfect time for Auburn home games, Auburn home events, and to be around campus. It's one of those small things that I remember back to being a student, and I'm jealous of walking to class this week. I'm like, there's going to be But you pull out your Auburn sweatshirts, you pull out your jackets, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful week on campus.
It is going to be a fun weekend for those of us that will be there, but those of you that live there get to experience it fully. We are super, super jealous of. And to cap it all off, you got a night game for the Ole Miss game. No matter how you feel about the matchup and how it's going to go, Auburn, Jordan Hare at night. It's going to be fun, folks. So get excited about that at the very least. Let's switch gears real quickly and mention the basketball team. Now, AJ, when he guest spotted last week, we talked a little bit about the preseason and kind of broke some of that down. So if you want some of that talk, make sure you check out episode 53. And feel free, Austin, if you want to say anything about that. But what I wanted to bring up, and I noticed even today, we're recording on a Sunday evening, a lot of discussion around some of these preseason, I want to call them rankings because some of them are not official rankings, but they're respected names like Ken Pom and stuff like that for college basketball. And Auburn's getting a little bit of love early in some of these rankings. I think Ken Pom they were ranked like 15th or something like that. And I can already feel the expectations starting to build, even though there's people saying, hey, everybody, hold on. Does it feel that way to you, that there's a little, maybe after a lackluster last year, that we're kind of having those anticipations build a little too early or anything like that?
It's the Auburn way, right? To get the anticipation and expectations high, and no matter maybe what our gut tells us. But in that sense, there's a lot of excitement about this team. Tons of transfers, tons of new faces, tons of people to get to know on and off the court, and find your favorite personalities with a lot of the same leadership and same personalities that have already been here for a couple years that we love. And so I think it's exciting. You talked about Ken Pom, and that's a big one that a lot of people look at when it comes to how you rank teams. Some people only choose to rank teams based off Ken Pom.
Who would those be?
That one person that had Kansas. Anyway, and then so a lot of people trust the metrics that go in the algorithm that is Ken Pom, and I think it was always, from my vantage point, expected that Auburn would look good in Ken Pom because strength of schedule is a big part of Ken Pom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Auburn has a brutal schedule out of conference, especially, and then the gauntlet that is the SEC. So they're getting some love for that. It'll only help if Auburn can win those games and win a majority of those games.
Right.
But I think that out of conference schedule is also something that has a lot of people excited. I mean, when you're starting against Baylor, and then you've got USC coming to Neville Arena with Bronny James and all the USC hype that is around them, on top of just all these opponents that Mike Burgomaster and Bruce Pearl and Chad Pruitt are able to find every year that end up being teams that might be, on the radar of different Auburn fans, but then come March, it's like, oh yeah, that team we played. Oh yeah, that team we played. They're all making the tournament. So it's quality opponents for Auburn way before they hit SEC schedule. But it'll be important for this team to gel together with all the new faces and figure out the lineups that work best. So plenty of excitement, well justified, I think.
One of the things that I never worry about is having a fan from an opposing side look at my Auburn basketball team and say, well, y'all didn't play anybody. I'm like, did you actually do the research on who we played? Even typically the ones that we played that would be mid-majors, lower tiers, they are people that either just won or were runners up or anticipated to win their particular conference that season or the previous season. So Bruce Pearl, obviously, because he's assembled the staff, is responsible for it. But you brought up some of those names: Chad Pruitt, Mike Burgermeister, and whoever else, because I don't want to take anybody's credit away.
Yeah,
assembling that schedule it's brilliant. I love it. And a year where I get excited about the Maui Invitational because I would love to go to it. I just can't afford to. A year where that is leading up to that, the next year, I'm starting to get more excited about this season's non-conference simply because of all the crazy matchups that are going to happen neutrally at Auburn and away as well. So I know we're all a little bit down about football. I know we're all trying to understand some of these things, but there are still plenty of things to be excited about in the Auburn experience. And thankfully, Bruce Pearl and basketball is still one of those things. Let's jump into our full show now. We're going to have two other segments for you guys. Big topics, obviously talking a little bit of post LSU. It'll be therapy, I'm sure. But then we're going to talk about fans getting involved with what you wear to the game and what's going to be happening with this Ole Miss game. Just this full discussion about that coming up next. Big topic number one tonight. Let's just, like you said when we opened up the show, let's get around the couch and pull up a weighted blanket, put on some smooth jazz music. Now this sounds kind of sketchy, actually. Now that look, we all realize I know I'm trying to bring it back. Bring it back, Kyle. We all realize what we just saw against LSU was not good. We're going to dive into it. But let me ask this question first. Was it worse than the Texas A&M results, Austin?
Worse than the results.
What you experienced? Let me ask this differently. What you felt after the Texas A&M game, was that worse, or what you felt after the LSU game? I know maybe I threw you for a loop.
I think I could say both. I'm not going to do it. I think I would say worse, because, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I thought after the Georgia game I was feeling some positives. I felt like there was an offensive identity. Maybe some play calling had changed. Maybe the person play calling had changed. It felt like there was some rhythm, some confidence brewing. And then it's like, well, you got a bye week. The whole bye week, the whole point is to prep for LSU. LSU looked like it had, struggled defensively. They were one of the worst defenses by the metrics. It was like, things could be brewing here at the right time. Yeah, it's a night game in Tiger Stadium, but even a good showing and a loss helps continue kind of some of that positive trajectory of momentum. And then it just wasn't. It comes out and it's just flat. The first two drives, things look lost on both sides of the ball, and you just never want to see that after a bye week. So I think A&M, while I thought it was more evenly matched going into it, and I was like, we have a chance to win this game, and I was very disappointed we didn't. The LSU game, it was like, man, we are not anywhere close at this moment to a team like LSU like we maybe thought we were.
The vitriol I heard after the Texas A&M game, I attribute mainly to people who had somehow made themselves believe that the magic of the 2013 season was going to happen again. And that was their realization that they were wrong about that, which is, you start 3-0, everybody starts feeling good. Texas A&M is a little bit susceptible, and it's kind of a rude awakening, but you kind of understand that. And the way things cooled off after that, I think that kind of holds some water. This one, like you said, where even as much as things weren't perfect during the Georgia game, you're at home too, so that helps. It felt like we took a step forward in some ways, and there were some positive things there, taking the number one team down to 3 minutes and nearly beating them until Brock Bowers. Not even Brock Bowers happened, just until Brock Bowers, who, can I just say this too? And I'm going to be careful saying this because I don't want it to be misconstrued. I'm never wishing ill will on anybody, but it's kind of like when you see that happen, if it's going to be in the cards to happen, just like, why can't that happen that last week?
I would be lying if I said the minute they came on the new I'm like with you. I really want to make sure. I hate that he is hurt.
I never wish that.
Auburn. I think he is. I do think he's the best player in the country, and I think it would be, while I don't want our rival to win a Heisman, a tight end winning a Heisman,
it's cool.
Would be cool. And so when I saw it, I was like, I do not want him to be hurt. But when they show up on the news flash, mid game of whatever it was happening, because I wasn't watching Georgia Vanderbilt, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you've got to be kidding. 2 weeks after he destroys us.
Yeah. So anyway, we can lament about that all we want. We're here to have therapy about Auburn stuff, and Brock Bowers, while he did beat us, there was more that needed to be fixed there. You got a bye week. You hope and you wish on a star that things were going to be addressed. And look, folks, I hate to break it to everybody, but they were. Does that translate out onto the field? Clearly not sometimes.
Yeah.
You can work on all the, and sometimes maybe it's just the realization that, wow, kind of what Hugh was saying leading into the season, folks, we need patience. We need a little bit of time to get this thing right. This is a much bigger problem than one season can fix. And I think people are finally starting to realize that. And some that are realizing it aren't able to rationalize. And so they just start pointing fingers again, because that's just the easiest and frankly the weakest thing to do, just to point fingers. Are there things that can be like attributed to that need to be fixed? Yes. I think play calling is something that's up in contention. This two quarterback system. I mean, let me just open up to you, Austin. What's
Oh
not
boy.
working? What's not working?
What's not working?
Yes.
Okay, we try to keep these podcasts at 30 minutes, so I don't know if I could.
I know.
No,
As
but I
succinct
mean,
as you can be.
yeah, I mean, I think it feels like and this is so vague, and I hate to say this because I hate being vague when talking about football and sports. There doesn't seem to be an offensive identity. Like, we don't really know what we want to do because we don't know what's going to work. And I think that goes both ways. It goes by the coaches maybe not being a little as decisive as they should be, and saying we're doing this and because this is what we're best at. And then it's also some player execution. Like, we might want to do this, but we can't trust that A will do their job and B will be able to execute this way.
Right.
So I think there's an identity crisis where and we're kind of stuck in the middle, which is not a place you want to be. And I think, as much as people don't like it, I don't like it either. That's why we keep seeing, well, let's try this, because we're looking for anything that's going to work in the moment. Kyle and I have talked about this before. You think you're frustrated and you think the coaches are just not. That's just not true. I just the players are frustrated, the coaches are frustrated. They're the ones who are knowing on the field as they're going 3 and out for the 5th time that they're what is being said on social media. And unfortunately, I hate that that's a thing that's being thought of, but they're wondering at the same time, well, I can't execute this any better and I don't know how to do it. And at the same time, there's thousands of people watching them wondering the same thing.
Right.
I think that more than anything, it's an offensive identity question that's the biggest crisis. I think people are just struggling with how do we not have something that at least we can stick to in this moment? Does that any of that make sense? I know that's
No,
going a long way around.
I think if you want to pinpoint as best you can the problem, it is having an identity on offense. Are we a passing team? Are we a evenly distributed team? Are we a run team? I'll tell you the thing that's just it's not shocking, but it's just kind of almost disappointing is how ineffective the run game has been outside of Peyton Thorne's big game.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see. Didn't think he had that much of legs to him. I knew he had some, but that was pretty impressive to see. We thought Robbie was going to be mainly that kind of asset for us, and he is. But, we know that Jarquez had his issues at the beginning of the season that kept him out for a game and probably slow getting into things as well. But even still has not, whether by opportunities to or whatever, has not gotten going. Damari's gotten hurt. We've had some, nice surprises, Brian Battie and Jeremiah Cobb. But outside of those nice surprises, it's been kind of disappointing to watch the run game not get going. And a lot of it is because we're not creating a lot of opportunities except on the outside for them.
Yeah.
Up the middle, there's no holes to be found.
Yeah. No, and it was one thing I saw Jesse Palmer calling the game last night get a lot of flack. I thought it was really interesting that he kept saying, Auburn's got to establish to run. They are a running team. They want to run. I'm like, I wouldn't say we're a passing team, but I guess you could say that is something we want to do. But it felt more like he was speaking out of evidence so far this year, and I just didn't really follow with that. I think a lot of it can probably be attributed to a lot of these teams know Auburn doesn't have much of passing at all. It might be clamping down on that run, making sure, well, this is what they got, and we're going to make sure Jarquez doesn't beat us in the middle.
Yeah.
And if that's what's working, then that's what's working for him. I mean, it looks like Auburn doesn't have much of an offensive identity in the run game that they've been known so well for hardly at all.
Yeah. And I think some of it too is people have these expectations for Auburn that were unrealistic and also get stuck on things such as LSU's the worst defense statistically. That
Yeah.
may be in fact true. And I know that we have to be even keeled about these, but I think people discredit what playing at home does. If you don't believe what playing in Death Valley does for LSU, then let me just show you what happened 2 weeks ago where Auburn went 3 minutes away from knocking off number 1 team, who's not, the most unbeatable team in the world, but they're
Right.
still number 1. And we saw that. So if you don't think that makes a difference and negates some of the statistical averages that tend to happen, then you're just not being intellectually honest. Like you're just operating off of emotions. But it is still valid that that was one of the worst defenses Auburn has faced all season, and nothing happened. But it's a much deeper conversation than that. So there's no one fix to this. Switching quarterbacks and acting like that guy is the savior is not going to fix this. It's much bigger and it's going to take much more time. And I'm going to say it again, folks. You just got to have patience. And unfortunately, it's in short supply right now. So I guess maybe to round things, any final thoughts just about what we've been seeing, and hopefully we're talking about something much happier after the next game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I was talking with a friend at lunch today, and he asked me, are we going to go to a bowl game? I said, I really think we are. And I think there's multiple levels to this that make me say yes. And he agreed. We were just having a conversation. But I think he pointed out, it's rough. Like you think about going to Kyle Field, home against Georgia, at Death Valley, and then home against Ole Miss is a brutal first four. No excuses. Everybody gets the schedule the way the schedule's dealt. Right. That's just how it is. Auburn, there's plenty of Auburn fans who clamor for that Georgia game to be earlier. Okay, well now it is. Like you can't put it wherever you want every year, and so that's a brutal first four SEC games. That's just how the cards are dealt. But the back half, and you see, sure, anything can happen on any given Saturday, right? Like I'm not saying it's a shoe in, but you look at the back half, and I think going into this year, no matter whether you thought Auburn was going to have 2013 recreated or not, the first four look way harder than Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt, and even Alabama at the back half. You think you'd take those back four over the top four regardless, and so I think there's optimism, like you said. Auburn's got a lot more home games left of the year. Jordan Hare is Jordan Hare. The magic's there. It's a night game against Ole Miss. I think it'll be totally fine. I like Auburn the rest of the way in the majority of their games. And so there's panic button because it's Auburn and there's panic button. But I think it's going to be okay, and we're going to get this thing figured out. But hey, the job we can do, loud in Jordan Hare for our team. And I don't see that being a problem. So I think we're going to be fine.
Well played, sir. And I think that's a great way to end that. We're all frustrated. Just need a little bit of venting and therapy session. But remember, it is always great to be an Auburn Tiger. It's much better than some of those other choices out there. Big topic number 2 tonight. We're going to stay in the football realm, basically, because it's related to something that happens in the stadium. It was something that was announced this year, as my co-host frantically on the camera, those of you listening, searches for something. What was that about?
It's part of my prop.
You got a prop?
Yeah, I got a prop.
So as you probably saw at the beginning of the season, they, for the home games, like to have different themes and stuff like that. And it's more than just maybe what are you going to wear, military appreciation things. They're going to honor this player, honor the teams. In fact, folks, it's not what we're going to discuss, but remember, we're honoring the 1993 undefeated team. So show up and be ready to support that group that's able to show up. I would imagine Terry Bowden's still coaching, right? So he's not.
Yes, he is at
he's at
Monroe now.
Yeah, he's at Monroe. That's right. I had to think for a second. I don't know what their schedule. Frankly, I know it shouldn't shock anybody that I know their schedule, but
they are 2-5 actually.
Maybe he can show up if
they just lost to TJ Finley and Texas State.
Wow. And it comes full circle. So anyway, the 1993 season will be honored. What we want to talk about is this concept of what you wear to the game. And some people are like, why are we talking about this? Well, frankly, guys, we got to talk about something pleasant after our therapy session. But I think some of it, we want to talk maybe about opinions about what we attempt to do, what works, what doesn't. For this upcoming Ole Miss game, probably the most difficult feat for you to convince Auburn fans to do is to wear not just one color, but to wear specific colors for specific sections throughout the entirety of the stadium, including one of those sections is a complete student section, and one is a recruiting section, essentially. So getting them to participate is probably tough in and of itself. It's not all recruits and families and stuff, but a lot of it is in that section. That's why you always see it emptied out right before halftime, because they're going down to do all the different things that recruiting does. Anyway, this game, the stripe, the stadium. Now, if I recall, Austin, last time we did this last year, it looked okay. Like I think I recall that. Am
Yeah.
I remembering that incorrectly?
No, I think it's been a few years, and it always looks fine. For the majority, just like when it's the whole stadium wears one color, most people obey. Most people make sure to plan and do their thing. Like you said, it's harder when there's a seating map, and it's a know what number you're in, know what color you need to wear, and all those things. Now, there's some people who are going to wear their E2C shirt no matter what, and we're just not going to be able to allow those people.
Now, hold on. We're going to open that up. It's much easier for me to make an excuse not to wear the E2, or at least to have that as what's showing when it's going to be a cooler like it is. Then I have to wear some. I don't have an E2C jacket, so you don't lump me into the people that don't participate this week, because I will be.
Every time you see the big panorama of the whiteout, and you see that little gray shirt in the right, that's Kyle. Just know that every time.
Upper left in the upper deck, about halfway up, you'll see me there. It'll probably be some awkward face, just like that, staring at somebody. Probably you saw me. If they took that shot during the Georgia game, it was probably me glaring at the ignorant and very offensive Georgia fans in front of me last couple weeks ago. Anyway, continue your thoughts.
Yeah, and so I don't ever mind it. I know there's a lot of people. One of my very best friends just can't stand that we have to have a color designation for every game. And frankly, I don't know why we do it either. I don't know why there has to be a set schedule. Nonetheless, I think the stripe one is interesting, and it's always hard to pull off, but done well. This past weekend, I was watching that Tennessee Texas A&M game. They did the checkerboard. I think that they always do a perfect job at Tennessee with the checkerboard. I don't know if there's no way they hand out 100,000 t-shirts.
Not every year. Right.
Right. But like for the checkerboard, you have to show up knowing, which just like stripe, but obviously it's checkerboard. And so I think it does well. I think that's kind of the mindset behind the stripe thing. Here's why I have my prop, Kyle. I think there's an easier way to make sure this happens for Stripe Stadium and something more relevant, because the stripe of orange and blue stadium is just kind of strange to me. I would like if we could figure out how to do tiger stripes, but then you'd have to probably do it by seat, and people would get.
Oh my, you're just asking too much.
But you know what I think we should do? And people won't like this. We'd have to do it early in the year because we need a lot of white. We should do helmet stripe. We could do, look, Kyle, we could do the student section white. It bleeds over, so we'd have to get the frat boys up here to what's the word? Cooperate. Don't you think we could do this helmet stripe right here? We could.
Can I be honest?
And it's more relevant because the Auburn helmet stripe, or excuse me, Clint, the Northwestern stripe of white, blue, white, orange, white, blue. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Kyle, can you imagine the drone shot of that?
Would it be beautiful? Would it be beautiful? Yes. But your question was, do I think we could pull it off? No, I don't think we could pull it off. But to your point, and for people that are listening, again, you should watch the live recording if you can. He has his little prop up with a little mini helmet and showing the Northwestern stripe and obviously the mostly white Auburn helmet. And so just kind of picture that in your head as he was describing it there. It would work and look great if we could get participation with it. And part of that's getting the students and the fraternities to participate. So on that note, in relation to, he's just like holding it up now, just like demanding that it happens. On that note, why is it so hard for us to get participation? Let's just mainly talking about the stripe out. When you see Tennessee with more people do it every year for a checkered board, that's more difficult to pull off, in my opinion. What's the, not lack of buy-in, because there is enough to see a stripe, but what's not working?
I think it's two things. I think first off that maybe three things. I think first off that the checkerboard, it has to work great the first time. Every year they do this. I see a million pictures of the checkerboard because they do a great job with it, and everybody can do it easily. And I feel like they probably, at this point now, I don't know if they do it multiple times a year, but if you know your section, you know where the orange. I don't know what my section is for the stripe every year. I think it's been different every year. I'm probably wrong on that. I don't know why they would change the map, but and then second, I think with Tennessee, I would think orange and white. Everybody has a lot of. I don't think everybody has a lot of orange Auburn, comparatively to their blue. Would you say that's the case in your wardrobe?
Actually, I've got more orange, believe it or not.
Really?
And that's
Okay.
probably
But
because I
okay,
like
so
wearing orange more.
well there you go. But that could be factor. It varies in what you have and then like you mentioned with the your own wardrobe this weekend, if you don't have a outerwear that is the color that you are designated, well, you know what? I love Auburn football, but I'm not going to freeze for the stripe the stadium picture, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think that it's a one that we try and do, and it looks good enough, so we're just going to keep doing it. But
The whiteout, if you want to call it that, looked great this year,
it did,
which I was kind of shocked with when I came up the ramp to the upper deck and turned the corner and said, "Oh, we actually bought in a little bit to this."
yeah,
And to their credit, the students tend to pull it off. Like
yeah.
whatever's happening, they tend to play their role for the most part.
Always
Uh,
helps that the white game's the one of the hottest, so
yes.
you can wear the white. Yeah,
So that worked. I think it's much easier to pull off the orange, the blue.
sure.
That just makes sense to do. The navy nightmare, the orange out, or however you want to. There's got to be a better phrase for orange out, like
All
orange.
Auburn, all orange, I believe
I'm
is what it
sorry,
is called.
that's the
Yeah,
correct way to say it's all Auburn. Oh, I should know this by now. Come on,
that's
Kyle.
okay.
That's like deduct 5 points from my Auburn fandom. Um, the stripe thing though has always just got me confounded. But I
Yeah.
will be participating this week in it unless I forget to bring the outerwear that
What is your
naturally
color?
is orange. Then I have
Oh,
an
it is.
orange
Okay,
hoodie.
good.
I
I
have a
think
I have
I'm
a
blue.
navy hoodie, but I'll be honest with you. My favorite Auburn gear is gray base and then the colors. Like on the
Interesting.
screen right now, I'm wearing a very light gray Auburn gymnastics shirt. I like darker grays usually. That's typically what I like with a little maybe orange accent. I like to me that shows the colors off more because you've got this big. Are we talking fashion on this show,
We
Austin?
are. We are. We cover
This
everything here.
this is how bad it's gotten this season, folks. We're here. So that's what I like about all this. Now, to close out, there is one thing that they're doing differently this year, it seems like, unless we're wrong.
Which I
This
like.
the first time they're going to do half and half. Is that correct?
Top and bottom.
Top and bottom. And its top is orange or bottom is
Mm,
orange. I
I
can't
think
remember.
top is orange. I hope top is orange for you because you love orange now. I found out.
Yes. And that would be, but I do have a navy pullover and my gray E2C shirt almost looks navy. It's called heather gray. Why are we talking fashion?
It's pretty weathered now.
Yeah.
Your shirt. I think it's
Dang,
probably
man.
blue.
Just tell me I look ugly. Why don't you?
Oh,
Jeez.
you're navy. Your upper is navy.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's cool enough, I got a nice navy pullover that I can wear. That'll work just fine for that. Don't get me wrong. If it's warm enough, I wear E2C out no matter so you guys can find me, which you guys do a great job of saying hello. But I just wanted us to hash it out and kind of talk about perspectives of this and,
I love it.
kind of give our opinions about it. I think the basic gist of it is this. A lot of the Auburn fans like the idea. We just wish the execution was better on some of these things like the stripe. And we're not going to be able to figure out how to fix all of this. Austin had his idea tonight, which again, Austin would have looked great. Brings the prop up again. But participation is we got to fix participation. How about this? If we can pull off the best striping of the stadium ever in the next few years, which is possible, if we get a little bit more excitement around the program, then you and I will make a full-fledged
I'm
pitch
in.
that we do it. That's what we're
I
going to
don't
do.
know who I need to talk to, but probably I don't remember his name, but
Red
I don't know.
Hobart.
Well, yes, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. The
Yeah.
the fan experience crew that's doing a great job, by the way.
They already doing a great job. I've got some ideas. I'm just, trying to
So
pitch some ideas.
we'll talk about it. So that's what's going to happen, folks. If you want to see Austin's idea happen in the stadium, let's get this striping going
That's
this
right.
week. Find out where you are and get it done, folks. Will
To
it happen?
close, Kyle.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably not. To close, Kyle, what is your favorite the like when you see the stadium, you're in there for the game and you see the stadium and it is all color or it is all whatever. What is your favorite to look at? I'm hoping that thing pops
these
up.
hands right here. There's so many things happening that people on the audio are missing right now with hand motions and stuff. I was impressed by the way the whiteout looked this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said that I prefer to wear orange stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Navy Nightmare is my favorite, though.
Look, when it's Navy and they put all those all orange shakers out, which is what they'll do for the Iron Bowl because it's classic. There's nothing like it.
It's the Navy Nightmare is probably my favorite. So no matter if your preference is white, orange, blue, striped, helmets that don't fit on Austin's head as he tries to on the screen. Obviously, we hope that you guys continue to participate. And maybe, just maybe, we might see some more creative things if the buy-in continues to happen in the coming seasons. That's going to do it for this episode 54. By the way, Austin, closing, you did not give us a 54 player. I didn't give you. Did you not do your homework?
No, I did not.
I will require extra credit and makeup from you next week. So get to work, sir.
All right. Yeah, I will.
Call them
Tate
out.
Johnson's this year's number 54. In case,
there he saved himself.
Wondering.
He saved himself at the end of the show. In case you want to catch up with us outside the show, you can find me on the X Twitterverse at Kyle Loomis 24. Follow E2C Network everywhere, even the TikTokies. Where can they find you?
Even the TikTokies. Austin G. Scott is where you can find me on X and Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 54. Apparently the Tate Johnson episode. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, that's the show. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Stick around. I'll be hanging out. Austin still got his props up. And final thoughts or anything you want to address before you head out?
I am going to mock up what my idea would look like on a stadium picture.
I love it.
I'm going to send it to you.
I would love it. Please do it. That is your extra credit for missing 54
right.
this week.
I feel good about it. To be fair, you haven't asked me the last few weeks and I haven't snuck it in. So
to be fair, I've never had to doubt you. And now I might have to.
We've been behind the ball. And the 50s are just rough. I could really use getting us into some receivers of the past.
Well, you still got a ways to go, so
a long ways.
Hey, them 60s and them 70s and them 50s are going to be, and all the rest of the 50s
a lot of long snappers.
Yep, it will be for you, sir. But always good to have you back, and thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, folks, as we switch gears here, obviously want to take some comments and questions tonight. As you may have them, I can address some things that you all were talking about during the show if you'd like. So I'll hit some of those, but if there's something you really want to hash out tonight, please do. We can hang out till about another 12 minutes or so, but if we're done this evening, we can kind of wrap it up. But before that, and as you think about maybe some discussion things that you like to have, let me bring up, obviously, the schedule events that we have for you this week, as we typically do. And believe it or not, Kyle came prepared tonight with all the cue cards for you. First of all, these are all our currently scheduled things that we plan to have happen for you. Wednesday night, the Auburn Family Night, back here live, calling in if you'd like anything and everything Auburn. Probably be a lot about football as it typically is, but it's all fair game. Your topics, your calls, your questions, your show. Don't miss Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern as well. Typically, if you want to know when we're going live on a regular basis, it's 8 p.m. on most nights, weeknights at least. Auburn versus Ole Miss preview and predictions, and a live stream. I'm also hoping to have an Ole Miss expert / fan on if I can get our schedules aligned this week. So be looking for that too as a recorded video. Of course, Tiger Walk Live will happen at the moment it occurs. So stay tuned for that this week. And then post-game with the Auburn versus Ole Miss post-game reaction show. So don't miss that as well. That is the majority of the scheduled content. Plenty more coming out this week for you. As always, check out the links, descriptions here on YouTube, if you're on Facebook wanting ways to help support us, you can find those on YouTube. We're probably going to make that a little bit easier for you to find some of that information if you're interested in helping as a fan produce the show and make it happen, continue to make it happen on a regular basis, because we are right now mainly fan supported, and you help keep the lights on here at E2C Network, the little lights in the background. Okay, so comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals to wrap up the show. Let's see here. A lot of people saying rip off the band-aid, talk about all the bad things. Stan did give me credit earlier before we started recording that kicking is much harder than people realize. And I know that's easy for me as a former kicker to say, but it is. It's a lot of pressure. That's why I could not watch Ben Patton's 52-yard kick that he nailed in the Iron Bowl in 2021. I couldn't watch it. I turned around and just knelt down and expected to hear the sheer sigh of disappointment happening from the crowd. And lo and behold, he nailed it. I mean, what a champ. What a guy. To this day, Ben Patton, I have a man crush on because of that. I mean, as a kicker, former kicker. Is that weird? I don't care. It is what it is. Let's see here. A lot of you were admitting that the LSU game feelings, the post feelings of Texas A&M versus LSU were worse for the LSU. And kind of like we talked about, I understand that for the most part. Most of you were expressing that. Felt like 2 steps back last night. It's probably a fair statement right there. WT joined us during the show. Good to see you, sir. And talking about what we discussed a little bit, just unreasonable expectations for a year one. And hopefully this has brought a lot of people back down to earth. And I am surprised too by, what WT was talking about here about people asking the question, will we make a bowl game? And I'm not, if we were 8 games into the season needing 2 more wins, knowing Alabama, it was one of those and probably another decent SEC team, I would say I understand you being skeptical, but there's literally half the season left and the majority of them are at home. I don't know how much better that can get for you. Yeah, you got to play Ole Miss. Yeah, you got to play Alabama, even Mississippi State at home. But you still get to go to Vanderbilt. Arkansas has not shown that they're a consistent team. I mean, everything in the world is in front of Auburn right now. And I understand the frustration at this point, but I also, and again, I always know that people are looking for reactions and want to be looking saucy and spicy online. But some of the overreactions are just childish. They really are. You don't need to go any further than some of the commentary in our live streams here on YouTube and comments. They're always after the shows too. They always make them after. And if you're watching this show, sir, I'm not trying to pick on you. I don't remember his name, but he posted some novel of a comment about his feelings after the game. I'm like, I just don't have, if you've got that much frustration built up about football, it's too important to you. I do a podcast and a YouTube channel about all these things. And I don't see me here, having a tantrum about it. Does that make me a better person? No, but I hope it shows that I've grown a little bit for those of you that knew me in my younger years. It's pretty rough in the younger years where I'll just say the perfect example was the Mississippi State Auburn 3-2 win. That was a win, mind you. And I lost my ever loving mind after that. Could not be around anybody just because I couldn't believe how far Auburn at that time had fallen. Imagine how it must feel now for some people who are probably where I was back then. What else? Trying to think about any other thing. I would encourage people, if you are not going to Auburn this weekend, do so. It's going to be a fun one, even if you don't got tickets to the game. In fact, I would bet that there are more tickets available because of how the team's doing. If I didn't want to be a part of what's going to be a great fall atmosphere, I would definitely sell it. But yeah. WT says, I still remember the preseason prediction show and how many people ragged on me for being conservative about the wins this year. Most had us winning 9 to 10 games. And I agree with that, WT. I think some of that was legitimately people thinking that, but I think some people were just having fun on the stream. I don't legitimately think most common, I know this sounds mean, but common sense people thought Auburn was going to go 10-2. Now, we have great eternal optimists, and I love that about it. In fact, I'd rather be around an eternal optimist than some of the negative Nancy's we see. So I will always prefer that. Some people believe that 14-0, Auburn's winning well, I guess it would be 15-0 now, national championship. And I love that for them, but sometimes it's just not realistic. So there's that. Unbeaten Lake gives us something to anticipate this week. I'm ready for Kiffin to go for it 20 times next game. The analytics are coming to Jordan Hare once again. They didn't work out for him so well last time. One of the few great feats of the Brian Harsin era, taking down a top 10 Ole Miss team. I don't know where Ole Miss is ranked this week. I didn't look, but I would anticipate they're still outside looking into the top 10. So if you can get a decent win from an Ole Miss at Auburn, it'll be interesting how quickly the tide will turn. And you got Mississippi State coming up after that, back at home, probably going to be a midday game, just given how they're doing. 13. I thought it was 13. I didn't know if they had risen up a little bit. Thank you for the clarification. And then Vanderbilt, and then Arkansas, which is going to be tough at Arkansas, New Mexico State, and then finishing off the Alabama. It'll be a much easier second half of the season, but still not a cakewalk. So we'll see how it shakes out. All right, we're going to get out of here just a few minutes early. Thank you guys so much for joining us, whether you were here live, whether you're here on the replay. Stay tuned this week for lots of great content on YouTube, on all the social media stuff. Stay tuned. And we appreciate you continuing to be a part of our little family within the Auburn family, because it's the best one within the Auburn family. And I am not unbiased when I say that at all. Smash that like button on the way out. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.